Ready to elevate your credit understanding and score? With insider tips and a plan, you can take action to improving your score, which can save thousands in unnecessary finance charges. Let's tackle today's topic with your coach, Credit Christy.
Hey friends, it's Christy, your credit coach. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Today, let's talk about credit cards, credit card APRs, credit card balances, all things credit cards. I just did a quick search and found an article from Forbes Advisor's weekly credit card rate report. And they shared that for this week in July 2024, the average APR is 27.62%. Now, this does include credit cards that have points, airline miles, rewards, and also secured credit cards. So it might be a little bit on the high end. But where does that compare to your APR? Where do you find yours? Look on your statement. Usually it's on page 2 or in the small print on the following pages after your transactions. And an easy way to get there is if you just work through your app for your credit card, you can pull up your statement from your app. Most people don't look at it, so you might be surprised to see just how high yours is. So what does this mean? Well, approximately 48% of credit card holders carry a balance forward monthly. And guys, that's up a significant amount. It was 39% in 2021. Let's say you have a $7,500 balance and your minimum monthly payment is $175. Let's compare what it looks like at a 23% APR versus a 27% APR. So why did I choose 23%? Well, I just checked on wallethub.com. And they are suggesting that the average APR for new credit card offers is just over 23%. So on a $7,500 balance, how much of a difference is this? Well, if you have a 23% APR, make that minimum monthly payment of $175, you will have it paid off in 88 months or just over 7 years. And catch this, that $7,500 balance will cost you $7,831 in total interest paid. Are you ready for what happens when it's 27% APR? This baby takes 137 months or just over 11 years to pay off if you're making a monthly minimum payment of $175. And drum roll, please, your total interest paid is $16,319 to pay off a $7,500 balance. Guys, that's crazy. So what happens if you are one of the 48% of American credit card holders that carry a balance forward every month? Well, I'm feeling the squeeze. A lot of people that I'm talking to are feeling the squeeze, and it's just becoming nearly impossible to sustain the same lifestyle with where costs currently are. And that is why we're digging so deep into debt. So a couple of things you could look at doing. You can look for a credit card for a balance transfer. A lot of credit cards want to earn your business, and so they start off with an offer of 0% for a specific amount of time. Now, here's a catch. There's usually a 3% or sometimes more fee to bring that balance transferred over. So if we use that $7,500 balance as an example, 3% fee or $225 will be added when you do this balance transfer. However, it will slice off a tremendous amount of interest and work to get that balance paid down as quickly as possible, because 100% of your payment will then be going to paying that principal balance. Another thing you can consider is a consolidation loan. Now, what I don't love about a consolidation loan is that a lot of times people will go right back to using that credit card and not using it to pay off in full, but using it to make large purchases. And then what happens is you just wind up with additional debt. It's like taking your own shovel and digging a little bit deeper for your own grave. Let's not play that game. If you do a consolidation loan, then I'm going to suggest that you move to using your debit card for your everyday purchases and not use that credit card again. Now, don't close it. Keep it open with a zero balance so that you have that debt utilization working in your favor. Another thing you can do is you can ask your creditor if you can qualify for a lower or better APR. If you started, let's say, a year ago with this credit card company, and let's say that your score has improved over time, now you might be able to ask that creditor to improve your APR, because credit score absolutely affects your APR. So just because you started with a particular APR doesn't mean you have to stay there, but you don't know unless you ask. If you are experiencing a hardship, you could also ask for the favor of a forbearance, deferment on payments, or a temporary reduction on your APR, so that way you can have more of your monthly payment going towards paying off that principal balance and hopefully keeping you from getting deeper in debt. Now, I also want to suggest separate your debt from your everyday spending, especially if you use one credit card for everything. Sometimes you have larger planned or even unplanned purchases that can turn into that I'm carrying a balance forward from your everyday spending, which you might be able to pay that part off in full each month. So if that's the case, perhaps have a credit card for your everyday spending, which you pay off in full. And my suggestion is make some payments as you get paid throughout the month. If you wait until that bill comes due, now you're paying interest on that money. So charge it up, pay it off, charge it up, pay it off. And don't necessarily wait until your bill cycle comes around to pay off that balance. Pay it often and pay as much as you can. And then perhaps separate that other debt. Maybe that goes over to the consolidation loan. Or that goes over to a credit card that maybe you move to that balance transfer with 0% and you work really hard to pay that specifically down. I just pulled a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, and it shows the average APR in 2019 of 15.05% and in 2024 of 21.59%. My guess is they are not using secured credit cards, or maybe not looking at all credit cards that have a higher APR because they give a lot of rewards. I'm not quite sure where their data comes from, because that initial opening where I talked about the Forbes Advisors Weekly Credit Card Rates Report, that being over 27%, they actually researched 250 of the most popular credit cards right now. So I would imagine that might be a more realistic snapshot of where APRs are at. However, we cannot discount the fact on the Fed Reserve Bank report that in just 5 short years, APRs have gone up 6.5%. Going back to that original equation that I showed you, that $7,500 balance, comparing 23% APR to 27% APR, that difference was just shy of $8,500 in interest. And not to mention, just over 4 years of additional payments at $175 a month. So your APR absolutely makes a huge impact on how long it takes to pay down debt, how much of your payment is going towards interest, and also proves that it's expensive to carry debt. Credit card balances are over $1.115 trillion in outstanding debt to be paid. And I don't even know if we can really conceptualize trillions and billions, but that is up $129 billion more than last year. I think that's significant. I think that's telling us a story, and we've got to pay attention. I just saw in a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York that last year, about 8.9% of credit card balances fell into delinquency. In other words, the credit card holder was no longer able to make those monthly payments, and now it becomes an outstanding debt, which would become a collection or a charge-off and cause a lot of havoc on your credit profile. In this one, this is the most startling to me. 1 in 5 credit card holders are maxed out, which means at least 90% of the credit card limit is being used. So if you find yourself in this camp, I hope you'll take my advice. Let's start with following a household budget. I know it's not fun. I know it feels restrictive, but if you change your perspective just a little bit to see it as a tool to tell your money where to go, to maximize its impact in your life rather than something that needs to feel restrictive, it can be very powerful in helping you see where your money is going and adjust so you can start paying down debt. In previous episodes, I've shared with you ideas and tips on how to reduce your debt load. So if this is your first time joining with me, please check out some of the previous episodes to dive deeper on that topic. Communicate with your creditors. If something is up, if something is going on in your life, you've just lost your job, you're experiencing an illness, some kind of event in your life that is keeping you from being able to pay your bills as agreed, talk to your creditors. Don't ignore it. Ignoring it will punish your credit profile. Having a conversation with them may open the door for them providing some assistance, even if it's temporary, to help you through this time. Remember that you might experience penalty APRs if you are late on your payment. If you take out a cash advance, it's usually at a higher APR than standard purchases. And there's also sometimes a penalty APR if you exceed your limit. So keep an eye on those things because it will cost you extra money and it can be avoided. I know things might feel a little heavy and expensive right now, but don't give up. There's a possibility of the Fed cutting their interest rate as early as September. If they don't in September, they meet again in December and likely will then. And the prime index rate, which is what credit card APRs are tied to, changes in tandem with the Fed funds rate. So as soon as they start lowering that, we will get a little relief on our interest rates on our credit cards. In the meantime, try to be proactive with your debt, staying in front of it. So don't pay anything late, pay it on time. Don't exceed your limit and work very hard to get those balances down. And consider a balance transfer for 0% for a certain amount of time, or talk to your current creditor to see if they can improve your APR. Whether permanently or temporarily, it will all help. Hey, thanks so much for being here with me. If we haven't already connected, let's do so. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Credit Christie. And until next time, my friends, stay well.
Subscribe now and share with a friend to stay in the loop for new credit content and insider tips to maximize your credit knowledge. And follow Credit Christie on Instagram.